Hey everybody, it's Kara, aka Cherry from Deuce Domino and Cherry on WWE SmackDown. I just did an interview with Keith Andrew. I had a wonderful time. It was great to meet him and talk a little bit more wrestling. So whenever you have a chance, always come and check him out.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Keith Andrew, and today is episode 793. I'm here with Jessica Messina, who is a singer and writer. Also today, we have a very special guest right here with WWE Hall of Famer and legend, Cherry. So make sure to like and subscribe to the KeithAndrewNetwork. Let's get started. So let's jump right into it.
Okay.
Oh, Cherry, we're going to start off with you. For everyone who knows, you are a former WWE SmackDown wrestler. So the first question I want to ask you is the big elephant in the room is, yes, you are a SmackDown wrestler and a manager, but tell us a little bit more about you and how you came to do what you do now.
Well, I was always a fan of wrestling. My brother hogged the Saturday morning TV, so I was forced to watch wrestling, and I kind of started falling in love with it. Never thought it was an occupation that I would do or get involved in. I was just mesmerized by it. So years and years of watching, I ended up growing into a young adult that kind of met some of the people that were in independent wrestling, and they were impressed with how much I knew because I'd watched it consistently. And they just kind of started teaching me the back end of wrestling, like the behind the scenes that I didn't really know about. So I kind of networked, which is something everybody should learn how to do in their adult life, is networking, and just started from there. So I networked. I went to a few independent shows. I met some people. They wanted to use me as a ring girl, and then they wanted to use me as a manager, and then I started to go to a wrestling school. So it was kind of just like a gradual build up into wrestling, and then I was lucky enough to be able to achieve something that I never thought was even possible. So to be able to get signed with WWE and wrestle for a living. So yeah, that's kind of the short version of it.
Well, I do have some great ideas I'd like to talk to you about. But Jen, I want to ask you the same question. Tell our audience a little bit about your background and how you came to do what you do now.
Okay, I'm a singer-actress. Writing was something I just kind of did during the COVID-19 time to keep myself a little bit busy and preoccupied. I started singing as early as 8 years old, and I was doing talent shows, variety shows, everything I could do in my small town growing up. Eventually, I went to Berklee College of Music, where I studied electronic production design and voice, and I decided on a whim I would move out to Los Angeles and give myself a shot at this industry. So I just kept applying for auditions, networking, making friends. Eventually, I created my own little group of connections where we work together and we help each other do different projects. So during COVID, I released a couple of songs and a couple of music videos, and it has just been an adventure. I'm so excited now that things are starting to open up again. What's the next step we can do in this industry?
No, absolutely.
Nice.
So the next question I want to ask you while we're on the subject, Jen, what can you tell us about COVID-19? Sounds like a movie. Unfortunately, don't give them any ideas to probably turn this whole COVID virus into a movie, unfortunately. But since we've been in lockdown, has it gave you, and Cherry, same question for you, but has it gave both of you a different outlook on life? Do you say, you know what, now I have the time to sit back and focus on my writing or what I want to do besides wrestling? Has it give you guys a different mindset? Then Jen, over start with you.
Okay. For me, I was always so busy and focused on driving to auditions and getting out there and trying to work as much as possible. I didn't have a lot of time to sit and reflect what I really truly wanted to do with my career. And it was, honestly, I wanted to sing more than to act. I love to do everything, but singing was my top priority. So I really sat down, refined music, and gave myself the courage to put it out there. I mean, at that point, there was nothing to lose. I was stuck at home in isolation. Like, it was something for me to do to be motivated for when everything opened up. And it worked out really well, because here we are today, and I feel like I've set up a foundation for myself for when things 100% open up. I'm right there in the game.
And what about you, Sherry?
Thanks for sharing, Jen. I love that. I feel the same way. I was in the pet care industry. That's kind of where I was before I was wrestling. And that kind of, even though it was deemed essential, I was let go from that job. I'd been there for 8 years. And it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because it was just more of a dead end, unappreciated position. So I ironically landed a job with a major corporation literally the next day, which was heaven sent, because having that time to reflect. And I've been a homebody because, again, I've traveled the world and lived out of suitcases and hotels. And so being home is precious to me. That it's to be able to have that time home and really reflect was just like, where do I want to be? And I landed this job, and I've never been happier. I have been way more positive with my life. I've been way more positive with challenges. And I've never been that way. I've been stuck in toxic zones per se. So, it's, for me, I know everybody has their own reflection on COVID. And if I can do my part wearing a mask, that's the littlest thing I can do, because I think of the time when we had that real pandemic in 1918, and those poor souls suffered. In my opinion, they suffered. Luckily we have electricity, we have grocery stores that are open. Some people are suffering because they've lost jobs, they can't afford things. So that's difficult and that's hard to see. But if we come together as a community and a world, really, we should help each other at this time. This is the biggest challenge that we have. And if me putting a mask on is the littlest thing that I can do to help the rest of the world, I'll do that, because we're not really suffering. Yes, some people have lost jobs, but let's get together as a team. And I saw a meme once, and I'll never forget this. It said, the teacher is always quiet during the test. And I just always think of that, it's like really challenging us. So yeah, I've been way positive in such a difficult time. So COVID's changed my life. Ironically, it was the best year of my life. If I can't say everybody that had that, but I've just, my world has changed so positively since it. So.
No, absolutely. No, go ahead.
Taking a negative into a positive.
Right. You got to keep it positive, because the more positivity you put out, the more positivity you get back. You can't harp on things you can't change.
Oh, I agree. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to ask you some wrestling questions, ask you about your writing, and then I'll pass it over to you guys when we come back.
Hi, it's Mimi Chin.
Hi, my name is Ellen
I'm Shauna Todd.
Hey guys, I'm Anastasia Edwards.
Hi, this is Jackie Nunez.
Hi, I'm Amelia Rose.
There, I'm Tatiana. Hey guys, I'm Alexandria Denise, and you're watching Keith Andrew's show. He's doing a terrific job. Make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more often.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Keith Andrew Network. It is episode 793. That's right, 793. For people who want to know what my talk show is about, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even if I have a learning disability, I can still amount to something. At the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities that never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. Just prove to them you can still amount to something. So hashtag break the labels. Also, the following is brought to you by 8-Speed Gibson, the X Zone, and Life of a Fighter. If you're into fitness, you're in Life of a Fighter. Now, going back to Cherry, I do have some questions for you. And the one thing I am curious about is I never knew, okay, this is going to sound stupid. I didn't know you ever wore glasses. But you're not the only one, but I notice who wears glasses, because I think Sasa Banks, I think Zia has glasses, and a couple other ones. So first question I want to ask you is, besides me, obviously, thankful for that, have you worked with people with disabilities? And are you willing to work with people with disabilities?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody's special and unique in their own way. And This is just something, these are readers. Over the years, especially working on computers, it's more of like the shorter site. We're all on our phones too much. So just more shorter distances, and it's not too bad. But yeah, absolutely. Everybody is unique, and I'm willing to work with anybody. Everybody has their special things that they can offer me, and I can offer them. So yeah, that's not an issue for me at all. I'd be happy to.
No, absolutely. Now, the other one I want to ask you, actually with Jen, I'll pass it over, then I will save my question for after.
Okay. For me, my personal opinion is if you're ready and motivated to work, let's find a way to work with you. I think everyone has some type of limitations to a point, but especially people who do have learning disabilities, I don't think that can stop you from doing anything. So like I said, if you're motivated and wanting to work and you have that determination, I'm here to work with you. Let's make it happen in a way that's possible.
No, absolutely. Hey, if you have the heart and passion for it, that's half the battle.
Right.
Actually, I'm Sherry, just looking at you for a real second. You actually look similar to Madison Rain.
Oh,
Yeah, you could be like her stunt double.
I've always gotten, people always said I look like Christina Applegate. And I was like, okay, I've gotten that a lot. Which both are very great compliments. So I'll take it.
No, absolutely. So the next question I want to ask Jen about your writing. Have you ever thought about, hypothetically, if I asked you, would you be interested in writing my book for me? Would you be interested in ghostwriting? And how many years have you been writing?
So I wouldn't 100% define myself as a writer. The reason why I wrote a book is I was busy. I was trying to find things to keep myself busy during COVID. And I noticed I was really interested in teaching public speaking and teaching people how to be forward. I'd always been the friend that people come to me for advice, and I would tell them, well, this is the way I would approach this situation. And I would give them my personal opinion. So I decided to put it in a book. It's called Aggressive, Honey, It's Assertive. Oh, kind of can see it because of the green screen.
Yeah.
And it's all about how to make yourself a more forward person that people can take you seriously. And I noticed that there's a lot of people out there that are shy and a little bit more introvert, and either they're getting overlooked for jobs or they're being overlooked in their relationships. They're not able to date because they're not confident enough in themselves. And it's about how do we bring that out and how do we present ourselves? And it's a more honest and direct approach because I am from New England, so I wanted to be very straightforward with the book. It's a little blunt at times and sometimes a little harsh, but I wanted it to be a very straightforward approach because I think that's the way to learn to be forward. But besides from that, it's just really a book of my opinions and what I would do. That would be the disclaimer. So I wouldn't consider myself a writer or be able to write a book. But one of my goals for 2021 is to write a sequel to this book, how to continue being forward and more direct for the intermediate person.
But you did write that book, right?
I did, yes.
Well, like I said, if you're interested, I would love to have someone ghostwrite my story. But
I'm not a good writer, so you might have to find someone else, but I can definitely proofread it.
No, absolutely. And unlike Tom Brady, you don't deflate things to get ahead.
Hey, I'm a Patriots fan, so I don't know about that. I know he's with the Buccaneers now. I understand everyone's got to make career moves, but he was always once a part of us, so I respect him.
No, absolutely. And Jerry, going back to your wrestling career, what was it like to work for WWE, number one, and say, for an example, if everything you both you've seen of me, do you think that, trying to find a word for it, I don't want to bury myself, even though it's a joke, but do you think I have what it takes to work for WWE?
Yeah, I mean, anybody that has a creative mind for wrestling, I would say the writers' jobs are, you work many, many hours, many, many days in a row because it's constantly being changed. It's constantly being revamped. But if you're up for the challenge of something like that, it's a high-paced work environment. It's 365 days a year. writing and constantly coming up with different ideas and long-term goals, short-term goals. It's definitely someone's in for that kind of a environment. Sure, absolutely. It's a lot of work to keep a syndicated show like that going every day. So yeah, absolutely.
No, absolutely. As you said, absolutely. It's about storytelling. For me, I love the Monday Night Wars, WWF versus WCW. And a lot of people say, oh, it's PG. PG kills wrestling. And then they went to the Attitude Era and my favorite, Ruthless Aggression Era. And then it kind of went back to PG. It's not that PG hurts it, it's the storytelling, but it goes into it.
Yeah.
And for me, I always want to talk to Stephanie McMahon. If you're in a good place, maybe you can put a good word in for me. And no, absolutely. And I have a couple ideas. No, I can't see, without my glasses. I can see a little bit, but if someone had led me around, I can, get into the rhythm. But I feel I can come up with a couple good scenarios where I could be like a one-time champion. No, I'm not asking to be WWE champion. My goal is I want to be a three-time cruiserweight champion.
Okay.
And also a tag champion. That's the opportunity to win a belt. That would mean everything. And that would be a highlight of my life, to be honest. But there's different stories so you could tell, hey, I don't want to tell my ideas on the air. I can tell you guys off the air. But, it's like you can do storytelling. And when I win a belt, I can go say to other people with disabilities, hey, look at what I was capable of doing. And I'm able to turn myself into an example even more. Say, if I can do it, you can do it too.
Yeah.
But the question I want to ask you is, how did you get on the radar? Now, obviously, Jen was her writing and singing. She wants to get people to acknowledge her. You worked for the big company. People know, who the hell you are. For me, people are like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
So with that mentality, how do you exactly say, hey, look at me? And so when they look at you like, okay, well, you have our attention now, you don't do anything. How do you get on somebody's radar?
Networking. It's all about networking. That gets you so far. I was able to work a bunch of different territories, met a lot of people, made the right decisions to kind of get in front of the right people. And I had done it for a long time. So my name started to pick up when you start to really kind of put the effort in and work hard and try and take different promotions. And for me, at least promotions and jobs, and get your name out there. So then people know you, because more people know you, more people know your work, and then they can recommend you. And, someone can hear like, oh, we need this kind of a person. We need that kind of a person. And then they'll already know, oh, I have this guy that I did this interview with, and he was fantastic and had some great ideas. Like give him a shout out. Networking is such a big thing in life, and it really needs to be taught really well, because you get very far with that, so I would say, get yourself out there, do a lot more things, talk to a lot more people, so your name becomes just second nature to people. When opportunities come up, they can know your quality of and your work ethic, and then be able to recommend you. So yeah, I'd say that would be it.
Oh, absolutely. And I do have a couple more questions for you, but I do want to pass it over to Jen first. But I'll give you an example. When I approach wrestlers to be on my show, I'm a big fan of Amy DeMont. I would love to have Lita on the show.
Okay.
And she said something that kind of struck a nerve, but it wasn't the fact, she said it and she struck the nerve. It was the fact I heard it so many times and I wasn't expecting to hear it from her. She's like, when you have wrestlers or people on your show, I thought you only want people with disabilities on your show. Okay, my show is about turning myself into an example for people with disabilities, but you don't have to have a disability to be on the show.
Okay.
I'm going to pass it over to Jen because I know you're busy, you have to go in a couple minutes. but it's kind of like when I usually save this for the end, but I'm going to ask you now before you have to go. When I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what was your honest first opinion about being on the show, and what made you say yes?
Well, I like to read through and look through all my DMs. I think there's a lot of great opportunities that people are just trying to reach out to you and they don't know how to reach out to you. So I said to myself, another opportunity to talk and discuss who I am as a person and who I am as a brand and my goals. That's a great opportunity. I never thought of it anything as being on a show to talk about learning disabilities, or I'm talking to someone with a learning disability. That never even crossed my mind. I was just excited to be on another talk show to talk more and make more friends and meet new people. So I'm really honored to be here, and thank you so much.
No, absolutely. I know you have to get going, but I will talk to you off the air. I do have some ideas, but thank you for sticking with us. And now, Carrie, I'm going to save that question for you for the end. So the next question I want to ask you is, I know you're friends with Deuce and Domino. Have you guys thought about doing like autograph signings?
We actually just did one March 6th and 7th. That was our first one in quite some time. So it was really fun. We had a lot of people come out because, a lot of people have that encyclopedia now. WWE has that in 4 versions of it. So we had a lot of people come out. They have that big collector's book to get signed. So it was great. We did a great signing, and we're impending in possibly coming out to LA actually in June.
Oh, good. Come visit me.
Yeah. So we're looking to do another one in June.
No, absolutely. For me, I'm waiting until I'm vaccinated, and I'm a little short on money. So my biggest thing is getting vaccinated first. Then I can go to meet and greets. But Jen, before you go, do you have any questions or you want to ask?
No, I just want to say thank you again for the opportunity. Nice meeting you, Cherry. Again, nice meeting you face to face, Keith. And I had a really awesome, fun time. I hope I get to do this again in the future, and we'll be in touch.
No, you bet.
Nice to meet you, Jen.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a great night.
Now, I guess it's just the two of us. Now,
Just the two of us.
the question I want to talk to you about is this June. Actually, I have it on my phone.
Okay.
I think it was. I went too far. I went in September. Let's see. Oh, anyway, it's June 12th at 5 o'clock. I'm doing a special WWE reunion episode. And what that is, everyone who I ever interviewed from, I have interviewed ECW, WCW, WWE. I'm thinking, well, why not do special themes for an episode? So this June 12th at 5 p.m. Eastern, if you're available, I would love to have you a part of the WWE theme episode. Okay,
that would be very cool. Absolutely.
No, as of right now, I have Scotty, aka Raven. Raven's a good friend of mine.
Okay.
I have Chris Harris and a couple other bunch of other wrestlers. Can't think off the top of my head, so I heard myself. But the question I want to ask you, wrap it up, with 3 minutes left, is who do you still keep in touch with? Obviously, you work with Deuce and Domino, so those are your 2 buddies. But hey, maybe they would like to do like a group episode one day on my show. But who else do you keep in contact with?
I'm very close to Natty Neidhart. She's basically one of my best friends. I actually spoke to her today. I talked to Beth Phoenix a lot. And then the occasional friends here and there, but they're really kind of the ones that I talk to the most outside of Deuce and Domino, because we've been doing a lot more promotions together. But yeah, I mean, Natty and I see each other a couple times a month when, especially with COVID now, she's home a lot more, which is nice. So I'm pretty close. I'm really close to her as far as living wise, but we're close, in friendship. So Natty's definitely the most. I just saw Layla at the promotion March 6th and 7th, which I haven't seen her in a while. She looks fabulous and doing wonderful. And I traveled with her on the road, so that was great. But occasionally I'll go back and see some friends, and everybody's so kind that I see. Big Show and all the girls, and Steven Regal, and everybody that I remember from back in the day, and they're all so kind to me. And Victoria, fantastic, and Michelle McCool. So yeah, it's been great. I've met a lot of great people, but Natty's probably the one that I've been as close with. And Beth's very busy with her girls and work, so we get a few text messages here and there. But those are the ones I talk to the most often from my friends. So. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I do have a couple questions for you off the air. About wrapping up, when I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what made you say yes? How do you feel now? And would you recommend it to your friends to be on the show?
I would. I actually thought of, as we were doing this, maybe do a Deuce, Domino, and Cherry conversation, which would be great. And I'm just open to, anybody that asks me. I do the best I can to meet people and say hello to people. And, I wouldn't be where I am today or have the successes I had without people that love the business like I do. So, those are the things, like, if people ask, I'm always open to, if I can do that, and meeting new people. I mean, the wrestling world is, very unique, and people that understand it get me. So I can be very unique myself when it comes to that. So, anybody that's into it and supportive of me, I'm always supportive of them as well. So, I'm always, if I can do it, I always try and do it.
No, I agree. Now, wrapping up the show, it was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest, and I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road.